But if anybody wants a mint, we obviously do know we have maybe like 5 or 6 different types of mint. Things like oregano and mint, lemon balm, when they flower, you can see the oregano's flowering over here. It's actually really good for the bees. It's a bit of a healing, has healing properties for the bees. So I like it when it goes to flower. Also, you'll see this plant around. Does anybody know what this is?
Comfrey.
Yeah, comfrey. This is comfrey, also called bone stitch, and who knows what else. But it's a really great plant for the bees. Love these flowers. It's what's called a dynamic accumulator, so it mines down into the ground and brings up the nutrients onto the leaves. So you can do what's called chop and drop. So you can just sort of, you'll see sometimes some just dead leaves sitting around. I just threw them down. I actually have a bit of a tea made up of it inside, which sometimes I'll use for fertilizer. It just stinks, but I think it's supposed to be good, right? So there's kind of some plan to the chaos, but at this point it might just look like chaos. But again, the bees love this plant, and it's super easy to grow. In fact, right over here, I just took little chunks of root and just sort of shoved them in the ground last fall, and we're gonna have a nice border growing right there at the comfrey. And I like it, does great for weed suppression as well. And like I said, when if you wanna harvest the nutrients or you just wanna get it out of the way, it's really not a problem. You can just take a knife or pruning shears or whatever and just cut it back like that. Lay it down. I'll put it around this little cherry tree here, help feed that. And you can see
It's
that's
a
all there is
controlled
to
weed.
it. So the bees will have to find a different set of flowers they go to. But this will grow right back. You can see there's some little leaves here, and it'll just come right back, and you can do that 2 or 3 times a season. Super easy to propagate. You got to be careful though if you're going to grow this, because there's one that just spreads like crazy. This particular variety doesn't spread unless you go through with a rototiller, and then you have all those little chips of roots going everywhere, and you're going to be having a little comfrey farm. So, in theory, the leaves are edible, but I've never tried it. Has anybody ever eaten a comfrey leaf?
It's
There's something like you can fry them up, I guess.
It's
So.
good.
Anyhow, so that's kind of
It's edible.
one of our
too.
strategies. Yeah, it is sort of edible, but I have never tried it. So.
Yeah.
Like the leaf part? You
What's
just
that?
eat it?
Yeah, you can.
What's that?
Oh, I was asking, you eat the leaf part? Or?
Yeah, I think people will make little fritters out of these things, kind of fry them up a little bit. I don't know.
Not the boil it down and make it and enjoyable.
Yeah, it's the same.
So apparently these guys know more about comfrey than I do.
No.
I just love
I'm
growing it
asking.
for the
I'm
bees. So
kind of regretting some of it that I planted because it's
it can spread. This variety we haven't had a particular problem with it spreading. But then when I cut back that canopy, you can see there's a lot going on here. There's actually some garlic here that I'm sort of just letting keep reseeding itself. Some daylilies. We actually have some strawberry plants. And I'm kind of weird because I get more excited to see strawberries starting to daughter out like this than the actual fruits themselves, because I'm like, yes, next year we'll have even more fruits. So that's nice to see. Down here, we have a bunch of hardneck garlic that I planted with kindergartners and first graders, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a garlic sale this fall. We already pre-sold, I don't know, 50 or 60 pounds of it to maybe. I don't know, where's Martha? Oh, she can't hear me, so I can make up a number and she won't know. And then a lot of times it's just sort of like little areas, and one of my goals, I mean, there's a lot of weeding to be done, so if you see some weeds, feel free to do that. But it's a cool area because students come and they explore things. And I was with a first grade teacher, and we were standing around the pond, and her kids found this like cool plant where it like popped like bubble wrap, you know, when you squeeze it. I have no idea what it is. Somebody else knows, and like little spiky pods. And the kid was like really enjoying it, and then other kids came, and I didn't mind because it wasn't a plant that I cared about, so we were all kind of like popping them. But a few minutes later, I was talking to the teacher, and I said, well, you know, we're working on developing some curriculum that's more like activities you can do in the pond, like counting frogs or identifying, you know, some. And she's like, why? Like, it's good just to get the kids out here and just exploring things, because she's like, look at you know, Johnny, and he found the little plant there. And so there's a little bit of that goes on here. So sometimes there's some intentional chaos, and sometimes it's just sort of like a lot of space for me to manage stuff. Anybody have any questions right now? Yeah. Oh yeah. So we have a deer problem, and there are some cedar posts that I've stuck in the ground, and we're going to eventually put up a deer fence. But I hate the idea of a fence like in how it looks. I don't want it to look like a prison in here. So we're going to be eventually making more like a living wall. But one of my experiments this fall was I planted willow. You can see maybe 10 of them didn't make it. I didn't know watering or anything like that. I literally just cut the rods this spring, shoved them in the ground, sort of tied them together and walked away. I probably should have put that somewhere on the back so it didn't look so bad. But eventually it'll grow in like a willow wall.
Oh, okay.
It's a golden willow. I have some more of it planted over there, and if anybody wants to take some, I have a few of them that are just sitting in a bucket of water over by the hoop house. So the idea would just be to kind of prevent the deer coming in. Obviously 20 feet of it's not going to stop the deer, but eventually we're going to have more fencing and more things like that are growing up. So. That whole area right there is going to be sort of flowers that I've had people coming in.
Willow's the tree, right?
But other flowers too.
Yeah, willow you can just cut a branch off and literally just stick in the ground. And
You know, so when I had a farm, I had like maybe 6 different varieties in 1 year. Everything got merged together, so now it's
A little bit
selected, fauma selected is what I'm going to call it. So it's just, well, I just choose out the best looking heads and the nicest cloves, and then we plant those. So it probably came from like Red Russian music and I'm drawing a blank on the other one. So originally, that's what it was probably was. What's that? You want to pick my peas for me? I was going to actually pick some today for lunch. Yeah. So.